All right, so the fight just wrapped up. Jared, the real big baby Anderson versus Charles Martin. Jared Anderson comes away with the decision. Dominates pretty much over the course of 10 rounds. Ends up dropping Martin in the 10th. The third. I don't really think he was hurt, to be honest with you. It was just a perfectly timed shot. When you went back and look at it, it was just one of those shots where both men knew which side was open. Both men knew where the shot needed to be. Martin was throwing his left hand. Anderson was throwing his right hand. Martin got off that left hand first, but he ended up missing. Jared Anderson was able to slip it slightly. He came back with the right hook, bounced it off the top of his head. One of the things that I noticed about Charles Martin tonight, man, was he was overextending himself a lot, man. He was really trying to get in behind that right hook when he was using it. He was really trying to fire that left hand off hard. And when it worked. But more often than not, he was ending up, Jared Anderson was able to slip those shots, and he was ending up overextending himself. And, I saw this pattern develop in this routine where he was throwing the left hand, he was overextending, and it was just setting up a beautiful right hand for Anderson. Once he would slip it and move, they just hit this slight pattern where it seemed to repeat itself kind of in the middle, towards the middle of the fight. And, then some other things changed. But nevertheless, let me say this. Charles Martin was no pushover, man. Charles Martin was not there to get a payday. He was not there to lay down. He was not there to pack it in at the first sign of difficulty. Okay? Not at all. Not by any stretch of the imagination. And you know who the real winner was for that? The real winner was Jared Anderson, dude. That's what a young man needs. When a 23 years old, when a young fighter is coming up, he needs to be tested. He needs to run into difficulties. I mean, look, he was 14-0 with 14 knockouts. So prior to this, every single dude that he was going out there and he was hitting and hurting, he was putting them away. He needed to understand what it's like to go out there and be able to land big shots on somebody and have them not go away. You go out there and you hurt guys, you drop them, they're dazed, they're confused, whatever the case may be. They're not quitting, they're not giving up. You're not getting them out of there that easy. You need to experience that, right? Because it's different when you go out there and you land your best shot on someone and they don't go away. They act like they don't care. They keep fighting. They hit you with more of theirs. It's got this weird effect where it can almost demoralize you if you're not ready for it. It can almost kind of take the wind out of your sails because you find yourself asking, like, what else am I going to do? What else? What other tools do I got left in my bag after this one? Because normally when I hit guys with a shot like that, they're done. I hit this dude with a shot like that, and all he did was say something nasty about my mother. Like, it's a situation that you have to be in, because one of the things that you got to realize is if you're going to make it to the top level and you're going to compete with the best of the best of the best, those dudes can take punches. Because the guys who can't take punches, it doesn't matter how fast they are, it doesn't matter how good how much power they have, it doesn't matter what their ring IQ is. If you can't take a punch, you're not going to make it, because everybody gets caught. Right? That's one of the things that nobody ever seems to talk about with Floyd Mayweather. Dude, his defense was impeccable, right? It was almost airtight, but it wasn't actually airtight. We saw him get caught with two nasty shots from Shane Mosley. We saw him get caught with a nasty shot from Zab Judah early in his career. And you know what? He took them all, dude. Without a chin, Floyd Mayweather would not have been Floyd Mayweather, even though nobody thinks about it like that, because of the fact that his defense was so good, he was barely ever getting caught with anything. But you still had to have it. If you don't have that, you're not there. So, Charles Martin, he's got a chin, even though he's been stopped before. I mean, dude, he's fought some of the guys that are the best of the best. So you knew that he was durable. You knew that he was tough. You knew that he was going to show up to fight. Jared Anderson caught him with some shots, dude. He said, in the post-fight interview, he said that he thought he had him hurted a few different times during the fight. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But my point remains. Dude showed up. Charles Martin showed up to fight, man. He wasn't there to pack it in. That is a tough dude. There's a reason he's a former world champion. So I was glad to see Jared Anderson get the experience, man. And let me tell you something. That dude is an absolute superstar here in Ohio, at least in Toledo, Ohio. I mean, the crowd was going absolutely crazy for him when he came out, when the fight started, when he gets the knockdown. Every time it looked like he landed a decent shot, people are jumping on their chairs and stuff. Dude, it was out of control, but it was a great atmosphere. There was a lot of good energy in the place, man. I'm really interested to see what's going to be next for him. I mean, you look at him now, it's like I said in the pre-fight, I was talking about in the analysis. Where does he go from here? If he comes out and he looks good, people are going to be talking about him moving forward. Naturally, that's what you do after you look good in a fight. But when we look at the absolute creme de la creme of the division, that the very tippy top, the peak of the pyramid, right? If this is the heavyweight division, we're talking about being at the very top. Dude, there's not that many names. There's never is. We're talking about Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua. Are we going to throw Andy Ruiz in the mix? Yeah, maybe we'll throw Andy Ruiz in the mix. Those 5 guys. Do you think right now that we're going to be talking about Jared Anderson fighting one of those 5 guys? Personally, I don't think we're going to be talking about it yet, and I don't think that we should be talking about it yet. He's still a young guy. And one of the things I said is that when you see young fighters, no matter how good they look, no matter how well they're matched, if you pay attention and you really break down the film, you're going to be able to see flaws that they got in their game. That's the truth. Okay? I didn't even watch the film on this yet tonight. All I did was watch it live, and you miss a lot live. Okay? When I go back and I actually watch the film, I'm sure I'll be able to catch more. But even while I was sitting in there live, I was still able to see some mistakes that he's made in past fights that he's continuing to make now. And I get it. It takes time to remedy these things. It takes time to work on them. You know, one of the things that he mentioned in the post-fight was that his corner was reminding him, hey, go back to the jab. Everything works off of the jab. Once you start landing that, once you start working that more, things are going to go good. Those are the type of things that you got to remind young fighters about, right? All of a sudden they go in there, and all of a sudden by the 3rd round or the 4th round, they're forgetting to use their jab. You know, they're seeing things a little bit differently. They're trying to all of a sudden work this. They're trying to do that. You know, one of the things that he mentioned was, I switched southpaw. Somebody asked him why. And he was like, I just saw it. I just felt it. My corner didn't have to tell me to do it. Right? It's one of the things that he's picked up on through experience. He's been in enough fights. All of a sudden he's in there and he feels like going to southpaw is something that's going to present him some nice angles or some nice opportunities he's going to be able to start getting off on his opponent. Well, as you get more and more experience, you're going to be able to see those with more and more things. You just become a more intelligent fighter, right? There's a reason that guys have been in the game forever. You've got these veterans, and we call them crafty. It's like they're almost no longer athletic, right? They don't have the hand speed and the foot speed. They're not nimble, and they can't get under shots nearly as well, but they're still dangerous. It's that ring IQ. It's that experience. It's about knowing what to do and when to do it that makes them so dangerous. But you can't cut any corners to get that. You've got to go in there, you've got to put in the time, and you've got to put in the time against people who are going to absolutely test you and push you to your limits. That's when you're going to find those things out. That's when you're going to develop those little tricks. Now, look, I'm not suggesting that Charles Martin went out there tonight and pushed Jared Anderson to his absolute limits. But that was the toughest pro fight that he had been in for sure. 100%. I saw a dude getting caught with some nasty shots. He's got a chin. Even when Jared, he didn't even stumble, didn't even move. There were just some times that you looked at it, and all of a sudden Martin just fired off a super fast straight left hand. Pow, and he would just catch him. He didn't even blink sometimes, man. You know, so he went out there. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. He got the victory. There was a lot of people that expected him to get a first-round knockout. A lot of people expected him to end it within 6. We had a line, like I said, minus 1,400, minus 1,500 in this fight. I wasn't feeling any of that. I thought it was disrespectful. I said going in that Charles Martin was a tough, crafty fighter, that he was more skilled than that it wasn't going to go down that way. As it stands now, I'm glad Jared Anderson got the experience. That's a young lion, a prospect who's rapidly turning into a contender if he's not there already. It all depends kind of, I guess, on how you look at it. I don't think he's in title contention for a world championship yet, though. I think tonight he snatched up a secondary belt. It was like a USBM national. I don't know, man. I'm not 100% sure. It doesn't really matter. I'm not big on the belts, anyways. Between the corruption and bogusness that we've seen in these sanctioning bodies, and because there's so many belts out there, they've lost a lot of their meaning. They don't represent exactly what they're supposed to, in the sense that this is supposed to be the guy, the man who's the best in the division, and that type of thing. So whatever. He picked up 10 of them. He picked up 1 of them. He doesn't have any of them. The man's still the same fighter, and he's still a very good fighter, and he's still got an incredibly bright future, and one that I'm going to be tuning into, you know, all day long. I absolutely want to see what's next for him. So, you know, let me know what you guys think. Did you check out the fight? What did you think about what Jared Anderson brought to the table? What did you think about what Charles Martin brought to the table? Do you think Jared Anderson improved since his last fights? I mean, going 10 rounds in this one by itself. We got to see his cardio. Do you think he looked tired at all? Man, I thought he carried it well. So let me know what you guys think.